Hi, I'm Jim Dubeck, and welcome to my YouTube video, Hot Button Moves Now. And today's hot button move is buy GLP-1 to be particular. Um, so GLP is not a stock, it's GLP-1. It's the name of a locus of activity in the drug industry right now. The most famous are diabetes drugs from Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, Wegovy from Novo Nordisk, and first Monjouro, and then Zepbound from Lilly. One of the things that was happened is that these drugs were designed for the control of diabetes. Were discovered that they had a really big impact as weight loss drugs, that they could be used to reduce weight by 10, 15, 20%. Huge boom, so much so that the drugs have been on short supply and rationed. Novo Nordisk recently went out, Danish company, recently went out and bought its drug manufacturing partner, and they spent about $18 billion to buy Catalent. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because Catalent's got contracts with a lot of other people. It doesn't have a lot of extra capacity. But now that Novo Nordisk owns it, I assume they will start juggling around capacity and not renewing contracts. And basically, the whole point is to get more of this stuff to the market. These are very expensive stocks. There's a real boom in this. We still haven't seen the top of demand, but you're looking at stocks that are both, according to Morningstar, about 50% overvalued. What's interesting to me is that we haven't seen the end of research into what GLP drugs do in the body, and that recently we've seen I would say it's anecdotal. It's a huge, huge search of other tests. So it's not a drug test, not drug trial run on these drugs to see what happens here. Uh, it's looking at 4 million patients who have been prescribed these to see what other things happen. And one of the things that shows up in the data is that these drugs seem to have an effect on mental depression. That people taking these drugs have less depression, less anxiety. It's going to be very, very hard to tease out these particular effects from all the other things going on around this. Like, do you have less depression because you've lost weight, or is there actually some mechanism going on here? We simply don't know. But what you're also going to have is a question of, well, let's see, if you've got this drug which may or may not reduce depression and have a good effect on anxiety, but it is a known drug for weight loss, maybe a doctor is more likely to prescribe it if they've got a patient who has both a need to lose weight as well as a need to control anxiety or depression. This doesn't hurt the market for these drugs. I think we're going to see even more doctors prescribe these, and it's going to put big pressure. The big pressure right here, there are two things going on. One is that who's going to pay for these? And if you have other benefits besides weight loss and diabetes control, it's going to be a lot of pressure on national health agencies, drug regulators, as well as the drug companies themselves and insurance companies to pay for more of these. And second of all, is the more things that you can add to the label, the more efficacy becomes an issue, the more, what should we say, the more incentive drug companies have. So basically right now, these are all injectables. And so can we go to an infusion model? Can we go to a pill model? All those things would extend the life of the patent on these drugs, which means more money for Novo Nordisk and Lilly. I basically say buy either of these stocks. I own Lilly in my online portfolios, and I'm going to add Novo Nordisk to it. These again, I said it's cheaper, but we're looking at a continued explosion in the market for these drugs, and I think the enthusiasm for them is not going to wane. If you want to do an analogy between this and the AI hype, but reality, I think these stocks are going higher from here, and I'd like to have as much of them as I can going forward. So thanks very much for watching. If you found this useful, Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free. That way you get notification when we do our next one. You can also subscribe to my, if you want more of my posts, written posts, you can subscribe to my free Jubac Picks website. It's got 3 portfolios, including the one that holds Lilly and the one that's going to hold Novo Nordisk. And you can also subscribe to my paid site, that's jubacam.com, that has 6 portfolios instead of 3, so we do some options and some ETFs in that. You can find links to all those down below, plus more freebies. Me and my wife recently moved to Italy. Our kids are grown, flown the coop, so we're flying the coop too. If you'd like to follow our adventures, we have a free Substack called We Moved to Italy. Yeah, catchy, isn't it? We Moved to Italy. You can find that on Substack, which, as I said, it's free. We'd love to have you on board for our adventures. Send us comments. If you know of good places to eat in Italy, we're in Venice right now. Probably going to be in Sicily for the summer. So please join in. Thanks very much for watching.